Welcome back, everybody. Another Tuesday night, and I am so pleased to be sharing it with my wonderful friend Daniel here. Hey, Daniel.
Hi, Jack.
We're Lions, we're Dharma Center buddies, and I'm just so grateful that we have this opportunity to chat. And yeah, just happy to be back.
Same here. It seems to be clipping by at a pretty rapid pace, you know?
It
Uh,
is.
like, I feel like we were just here.
We were.
Yeah. Weeks go by
Hey.
like days now. I don't know if it's my old age or what.
Yeah, no, it's old age. I think it's like I don't know, a little bit how accelerated our lives are in modern culture.
Yep.
Where it's like, I know for myself, like the work week really like every day it's kind of like pushing to the end. Um, and then by the weekend it's like, wow, how did we get here?
Hmm.
Um, and then some weeks it like can't go by like slow enough or fast
Fast,
enough, whatever
fast.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, who knows?
It's
Time.
weird. Time is such a strange thing because even, it's also, in addition to what you just said, there's sometimes like seasonality to it as well. Like sometimes there's this feeling that like the end of summer, like as we begin to become aware that fall's coming or whatever, there's sort of like, I don't know if it's like a collective sort of like consciousness or something that's like, oh, it's time to bring your harvests in and start preparing for winter.
Yeah, I think that's right.
There's like a busyness
I-
that sets in.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I love the turn from summer
It's my
to
fave.
fall. I like can't wait. It's like summer's so busy and active, and I just want to like come back into my cave a little bit.
Yeah,
So
I'm right there with you. I feel the exact same thing. I'm a big fan of both of the transition sort of seasons, right? But in particular, this transition between summer and winter, I really, really enjoy.
yeah, me too. Yeah,
Well, it's coming up.
yeah, for
They call
sure.
it's a what do they call it? Pumpkin spice latte season or something like
It's yeah, pumpkin spice time. Yeah. What are you a pumpkin spice fan?
No, no, no.
Could
Although
care less.
nowadays, maybe actually part of the reason why time has sped up for me is that
Mm,
for my birthday back at the end of July, I was given an espresso machine.
nice.
And uh it's pretty cool because on the one hand, we haven't since then there has not been a single sort of fancy coffee run to anywhere,
Oh
right?
wow.
Yeah. And I guess you could call her my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. I don't know. They're not in-laws, but whatever. They own a coffee. They have a little boutique coffee roasting company up in Fort Bragg. And so they
Fun.
are our suppliers of coffee beans. And so now
Great.
I'm whipping up dirty chais and doing little like whatever cappuccinos, lattes, whatever you want,
Yeah. On
and
the cheap.
on the cheap. It's still kind
Good.
of expensive, but it's
Yeah.
it's much cheaper than any of the cafes, right? Like so the fancy drinks nowadays, I mean, geez, Louise, they're at least like
Yeah.
$6, $7 or something like that. It's
Yep.
crazy.
It's so crazy.
Back in
Yeah.
my day, I could get one of those for $1.50,
I
but
know
now
it.
it's not like that anymore. But definitely
No.
doing it at home is cheaper. And I gotta say, I pull a mean espresso.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Well, when I'm back in Sacramento,
yeah, yeah.
I'd
I'm
like
I'm
to
gonna,
try.
I am going to make you a very good espresso drink or two.
Yay. Yay. Fun.
Yeah. Beware though, I do like to mix some mushrooms into the thing for a little bit of an adaptogenic coffee drink. But that's just me.
Okay, great.
I won't force it on you, but I
I'm open to it.
okay.
As long as there are certain kinds of mushrooms and not others. That'll I
I
like
think
the
I know.
adaptogenic kind.
Yeah. It's all health. It's all good stuff. It's all natural, legal mushroom stuff.
Great. We've kind of dived into our everyday, but tonight we're going to be talking about kids. and like sharing the Dharma with kids. And I also imagine it's not just a one-way street. We're going to talk about that too, that I learn a lot from kids. So that's going to be kind of fun tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to hearing sort of a qualified mental health professional speaking to
um,
what it's like to try to support children.
I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to say a qualified mental health professional. I don't feel it some days. Imposter syndrome today. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You are it, so you know, in
Oh
my
God.
mind you are.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like I'm less of the expert and you're more of an expert because you actually have kids and are raising kids. Um, and so I'm looking forward to hearing from a parent.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We'll take it from two different sides of the coin. Maybe one from yeah, the professional side, and the other one from the lived experience side.
Yeah, cool. Great. Well,
Plus, you
and
know, you do have the benefit. You're closer to a te being a teenager yourself than I am.
I
So,
guess so. I
yeah.
mean, I am double the age of an 18-year-old, so, not quite.
Closer
I
than me.
am closer, but hey, speaking of kids, are your kids back in school yet?
Indeed. Yes, they are.
Right. How
Yeah,
is
that
that?
transition is always a little bit hard. It's weird because it's just about transition for them. Like they're not like anti-school or anything, right? But it's just jarring to go from sort of like whatever it is that summer is, which is kind of
Hmm.
wide open and more flowy and easygoing to this more structured, approach to life. I think
Yeah.
it's not it's I don't know, I kind of can understand why some students perhaps do better with year-round school rather than this sort of on and off thing.
Sure.
But they're adjusting to it. They're getting ready. They're getting used to it already. It's only been a little over a week, I guess now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're adjusting, but it's actually what provoked the question for me. So the question about teenagers and mental health is sort of I don't know. I feel like um, there's something kind of shifted in terms of young people and mental health in general.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if it's just like a modern flavor of age-old problems, like the same old stuff presenting itself in different ways and maybe made more public through the internet, or if there's actually something else, going on, some kind of a, silent storm, who knows, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been thinking a lot about kids and their general well-being, and also sort of like combining that with the fact that I feel like, why is it that Buddhism seems like an old person thing? Like, I mean, there are
Yeah.
young people that are sort of associated with it, but for the most part, like, ever since I've been in anywhere, like, it's like mostly for like older people, right?
Hmm. Which
Yeah,
is like nothing wrong with that. But yeah, how do we kind of like bridge the generations? Because we want to keep it going, right?
yeah,
Um, and it is interesting because especially in the West, like we're so getting used to Buddhism. And so the generation that is attending is like almost the first generation that, met with the Dharma in the
yeah,
West.
yeah,
And so that's really interesting. And so, yeah, we really need to like look to our elders
yeah.
because we're going to be carrying the torch and they were the first to kind of pick it up over here.
That's right. That's right. And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? I was like, there on the one hand, there was this sort of initial feeling of like, how do we get young people to embrace Buddhism so that they can get all the benefits? And then I remembered our teacher telling me the right way, which was to practice ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
The right way to do it. And then I was like, oh, okay, great, great. How do we sort of flip that question around then? How can we as practitioners be supportive and engage with young people, especially as it concerns their mental or emotional well-being?
Yeah. I do think Buddhism is becoming more attractive to a lot of people for a variety of reasons. I think non-theistic approach is helpful,
Yes.
um, as well as like kind of self-empowerment,
Yeah.
and also like the kind of, yeah, collective nature, or a little bit more collective approach. Um, and also like the kinds of problems that we're facing now. They're so huge. Things feel so immense, and like that our world is our planet is like going up in flames. So like, these kind of like impossible questions to and having like impossible answers. I think Buddhism allows for some peace of mind, but also like how do you actually in the moment apply yourself to whatever's happening, that no matter what I'm experiencing, I can practice the Dharma. And I think that's really attractive because it's like a guidebook. Like we
Yeah.
have guidebooks, like I literally, like, I was thinking the other day, I was sitting and I have just at my altar a very small space where I have like some text. Like I can see I've got like one book over there and a meditation manual that Lama provided me like a long time ago. And I was thinking I could literally attain enlightenment just from what's right there. That small kind
That's
of
right.
like
Yeah.
sliver of text, right?
Yes.
Compared
Yes.
to yeah. And so I think that is really attractive is that it's like, no, we have tools. Like you can do this. Like you can do it. It's not out of your hands.
Right.
It's really attractive.
Yes, I love that. Exactly what you said, 100%. That is what makes it attractive. And I think combined with your other point, to bear in mind that the Dharma is recent, it's a relatively recent thing in the United States, at least, right?
Mhm.
It does sort of, it has, there's this sort of, I don't know, it's weird. I forget that, right? I'm glad that you reminded me of that. Like, it's still sort of, it's new here, right?
Yeah.
And that part of sort of bringing it to the people, if you will, making it more generally available is also partially about not fine tuning it, but making it adapting it to the culture, right, and to the time
Yeah.
as well, right? And so, that's going to be an interesting process to see what does Buddha Dharma look like in America in 20 years, right?
Yeah, for
Gonna
sure.
it's not going to have necessarily the same flavor. It'll have hopefully all the good, the path itself, of course, right? But sort of the cultural decorations or flavor will be a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's interesting to think about. And yeah, I have so much admiration for our Buddhist elders, right? Because like imagining, in the 60s, right? 60s America, like of course things were changing culturally. It was like a wild time for cultural change. But at the same time, there was, like that kind of thought was seen as like kind of crazy,
Yeah.
like and really weird, really bizarre. And so I just admire so much that people were willing to say, I don't care, like this feels right to me. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you to all all
Yeah.
of the elders out there who were brave, courageous, right? Yeah,
Yeah, we can certainly rejoice in their virtuous actions, right? And
yeah,
like how like it's weird because I do sometimes when I before I meditate, I'll reflect on just that very thing, right? That this lineage it extends so far back and it's had to go through countless generations of people who kept the torch going, right?
yeah.
Who kept it alive in their own unique way, right? Without losing the potency of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
gratitude.
yeah, same. Sometimes I get like little shivers. I'm like, oh, right, right. And then that
Yeah,
there's also this sort of this weight of like, yeah, you are there's a kind of like you're the beneficiary of this now, right? You've inherited this, and now like you got to essentially you got to practice it and make it your life, right? Living, breathing it so that it can continue to be transmitted.
yeah.
keep
And
it.
how cool too that we don't have to do it alone. We
Uh,
couldn't do it alone.
no, no, no. Thank God, thank. Yes, exactly. Right. Hmm.
Oh man, well we've touched on some deep stuff already. I'm curious just though like how you're doing and how your training is. How's
Ah,
lunch?
thanks for asking, Jack. I'm well, and my training is going quite well. I've had some kind of interesting things happen. One of which I really want to share.
Mm,
This is recent, but very cool. So on Sunday, Ellen Wolf gave a talk on volition, which was a fantastic talk, really good. And one of her resources was a book by Ken McLeod called A Trackless Path.
mm,
And it's a translation and commentary on a Dzogchen poem. And I something about there was, she didn't reference it much, but what she did, I was like, ooh, I gotta get my hands on that, right?
mm.
And so after the talk, I went and snapped a picture of the book and went home and was like looking it up, and I thought, well, I'm already reading, right? But she had mentioned to me, she goes, the Audible version of it is pretty good. It's nice to listen to. And so I happened to have like a free credit on my Audible. Yeah, I was like, oh, let's
Nice.
download it. And so I downloaded it, and then I had some time to listen, right? So I was listening to that book, and there was this thing that Ken McLeod, who's, by the way, is the one who reads the book, and he reads it himself,
Mm,
right? And he is in the foreword. Okay, first of all, the book, it is good stuff, right? Like really good stuff. But in the foreword, he's talking about the translator's dilemma, right? And talking about sort of like how the interpretation is, or the translation, how it can come across so vastly different while still being true to its form, right?
mm,
So he said, for example, he was talking about, he said, like, in one case, it would be fine to translate the Tibetan into um, maintain mindful awareness of the breath, while at the same time, it would be totally reasonable to also say something to the effect of like, let the heart ride the breath,
mm,
right?
mm-hmm,
And I was like, huh, all right. And it shifted in my meditation that very day, the next day, today, it shifted my shamatha.
mm,
Because what happened was I noticed that I was actually doing the more mindful awareness up in my head, watching my breath, right?
oh,
And so like placing, like concentrating my sort of whatever this is up in my head on the breath, like what, like paying attention to it. And then when I shifted it to this heart awareness, being with the breath, it it was a little bit easier and also way more calm, way more
mm,
open, right? So
mm,
the awareness was still placed on the breath, but the awareness wasn't coming from, it wasn't me making the awareness happen somehow, right?
mm.
It was awareness of the breath was being. I don't know how to describe it, but like it's so cool, right? How just one little comment like that, right? It was just in the forward. He's not even talking about Dzogchen yet.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I love that where it's like, something will just hit,
It
right?
clicks, right?
Yeah.
You're ripe for it. I've had that. I remember I was telling Lama that one time I came to, I'd had a long time, a number of years, I'd had a hard time with, the wheel of life, sort of dependent origination, and especially the sort of like the intro to it, ignorance, right? And like how it all kind of works. And I even though I sort of intellectually got it, I thought like it didn't quite hit. And I remember I went to a Thursday night Kriya yoga class with Geshe Damsho, and he's just going on talking, and he said something, and it just like it just hit. And I was like, oh, oh. I get it now. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Right. And I was telling
Yeah.
Lama about that, and he was like, yeah, actually, that's exactly how it works. You keep practicing and practicing and learning and practicing and learning, and then you ripen and you get to a point where the teachings are now able to penetrate where they couldn't before.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. How
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, dude, I totally that whole thing of paying attention with my heart, right? With my heart mind, so to speak,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As opposed to my mental mind, big shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of, I'm getting the same feeling as like uh last week when I was telling you about like just kind of dropping it, like just like drop it, like drop the improvement part of it. Like it's not just stop, Like it kind of has the same feeling.
I
Like
think it
it
is.
kind of like brought it down, like it brought it down somehow. In the way that like Ginla Rinpa in Calming the Mind, he describes like the antidotes to excitement as being like depressing the mind because we need to like we need to press the mind down and not becoming depressed, but we need to like get that shit down so we're not like all like crazy up here. So yeah, the kind of like dropping it or like bringing the awareness down to the heart, it's just so much more rooted and less anxious, right?
Yes, it is. This is, you're so right. You're so right. That's exactly the same kind of quality of bringing down and opening at the same time. So, Lama gave me some instructions for sky meditation that I've been trying to apply as well. And it's interesting how the experience is, I would say it's one and the same. It's almost identical to what I'm talking about here, where there's this, it goes from a relatively constricted, more tightly, more narrow sort of lens, if you will, to lensless. Like
Hmm.
the boundary is gone. It's just dissolved and it's just open, right? And so like the same kind, it's exactly that same kind of feeling where like the constriction of the mental activities, conceptual mind, if you will, kind of just like, right?
Yeah.
And it's so cool because awareness is still aware, right? But
Yeah.
it's not going through this lens of any sort. It's hmm, just there.
Do you know how long are you able to like kind of be in that space?
Oh, not
Not
very.
like it matters, but I'm just
No,
curious.
not very long. It's the same as ordinary shamatha in that sense, where, excuse me, where my attention still drifts and I still end up, going into thought and whatever, and then bringing it back. That part remains the same. I would just the nature of the experience of being aware of breath is what's different, but the
Yeah.
coming and going parts remains the same.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Um, cool. Yeah, I love that you're experimenting.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Great.
so much fun. That was the highlight of this week, and I'm so grateful to Ellen for not only her talk, which was fantastic. If you get on, like, I think it's going to be published to YouTube in the coming weeks.
Sweet.
I highly recommend listening to it because it was a really good talk and discussion, and I'm so grateful that she brought that book because just the forward alone, I'm not even talking about the poem or the commentary, which is it's
Yeah.
sublime.
Yeah.
So just the forward alone was enough to have a big shift in my meditation practice. So I'm grateful to Ken McLeod and Ellen as well for that.
Awesome. Thanks
Yeah,
for sharing.
yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And there's even more, in terms of meditation practice, but what I would say about it without going into too much detail is just that keep doing it, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the important part. Like it doesn't matter, oh, tired or busy or whatever. Okay, okay. Still
Yeah.
do it. There's something so critical to maintaining the practice and just keep doing it. It's okay. It's going to be a different experience all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know what's going to arise. We're not going to try to make anything arise, but the it good shit will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and whatever happens, it's good. That's something
Exactly.
that Lama said is like, after every meditation, regardless of what happened or the level of your attention, say to yourself, that was good.
Yeah,
That was
exactly. 'Cause
good.
it is good.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yes, exactly.
We
So
need that
all of
encouragement.
the, and I gotta say, and this will be my last thing, okay,
Yeah.
is that the speed of life has increased dramatically. Like we said at the outset of the show, something's happened. Maybe it's just seasonal, maybe it's whatever, maybe in that's probably a temporary thing. But like all of a sudden, there's just so much shit on my plate, right? Like from early morning to late at night, and I'm like, and I would be drowning right now
Yeah.
without my practice. With my practice, I can come back to balance and go back in, do what I need to do, come back into balance, into sort of like there's this sort of like able to rest and to not become so wound up and intertwined with the work and the things that have to happen. Like all the stuff is still happening, right? I'm doing
Mhm.
there's it's just less of a doer. There's less of me wrapped up in all of it. And so,
Yeah.
man, I gotta say, from a purely functional point of view, this meditation yields excellent efficiency gains. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a good reason to do the practice. I wouldn't suggest that that's like be your motivation, but just as a byproduct of practice,
Yeah.
I think that my ability to handle tasks and whatever has grown exceptionally.
Yeah. Give it up. Give up the self.
That's it. Just let it go. It's gonna happen, and the stuff's gonna happen. You don't need to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
that's where I'm at. So I'm really
Yeah.
really glad that I had an opportunity to share that as fun. That's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Awesome.
your turn. We gotta switch this thing around. I want to hear about.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I'll be quick because I'm kind of just continuing with what I've been doing. It's kind of a relief to just sit in meditation and just decide like, yeah, I'm just dropping it. Not it's not about improvement. Just and what a relief to just say like, stop. It's so relaxing.
How loving.
Um, yeah. And and I do find that my attention is often clearer, I think, because of that, not striving. Um, and yeah, I love this practice. I'm just so grateful for it. Especially right now, we've got, oh my God, just so much happening in our world that is freaking nuts, like really, really nuts, like straight up authoritarianism.
Yep.
We are in it, it's no longer on the at the door, it's in the house fully.
Yep.
So all of that, like of course, like I'm feeling like a little amped, excited, like, intense, right? But I can channel it and I feel like whatever I end up doing that is related to like political action, um, I can tell that like my practice is going to be with it. Like I'm not going to set aside my practice and my training. So yeah, I've been feeling, a little bit of like helplessness, like what do I even do? But again, that kind of like, okay, just like give it up for now. Like maybe I just don't know, and that's okay. And it's
Right.
that whole thing too of like, okay, I'm not going to do it by myself. I'm not going to do it alone. That we like
That's
we're
right. Exactly.
we've got to do it together, right? And so like those times I think are coming. People are
Yep.
already pushing back against ICE and all, so I just need to be patient. It'll come. Unfortunately and fortunately, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, patience and practice is just like, yeah,
You
these are
will be called to act, and
we
when
yes.
and as a bodhisattva or bodhisattva in training, however you want to refer to yourself there, there is this need to act from compassion, right? That's the whole point, and that compassion this is one thing I was definitely taking in from Ken McLeod's book is that it's a natural function of awareness itself, right? That this all of this training that compassion, that bodhicitta is in the nature of life itself, right?
Mm,
It's not something that's fabricated. It's not something that we do. It's not a feeling that we have even, right? It is just a natural function that's ever present. Our Buddha nature is there, ready to act, right?
yeah.
And the best thing we can do, just like we are hinting at it in other facets of life here, the best thing we can do is get out of the way ourselves and to allow to
Hmm.
be aware so that we can respond appropriately when it is appropriate to respond. Because otherwise, we're going to get ahead of ourselves thinking, oh, I'm going to do this.
Right,
I'm going to
right.
go and whatever, fill in the blank, take some kind of action, and that's going to have some kind of an effect. And that could be doomed, right? In many different ways. It could yield different results than what you intended, so on and so forth. But you'll never be wrong if you're operating from that compassionate, open awareness, right? And when
Yeah,
the time is right, whatever it is, whether it's responding to, whatever authoritative police state sort of stuff, or if it's about opening your home to a neighbor or providing support in other ways,
yeah.
whatever it is that's going to be required, it'll be clear what that is, and you'll be ready to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm reading uh is it Chögyam Trungpa or is it Pema Chodron? I'm reading she was a student of Trungpa's, so I, yeah, I think it is actually Trungpa, but he's talking about this quality of like just really like being there. And I don't know how to explain it. He says it in such lyrical ways, and so I'll have to find the passage maybe for next time. But there's this element of not what he's described as like lingering in memory of the past is kind of like a cowardly way of living, he says, because actually it's all fresh, it's all new right now. And so we can't, use our old patterns because this is new
Right?
constantly. And
Yeah.
so it would be foolish to like kind of over prepare. Of course, there's things that you can do to prepare, learn, or whatever, but
There is
yeah,
skill.
yeah, but skill building is important. But yeah, that the necessity of awareness to the moment that you're touching on is, I think, super key. Um, yeah, and helps ground, right? Because right now, this moment is that I'm in this room with my good friend talking Dharma, and that's incredible. And so, like, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think even in like worst case scenarios, we always have the Dharma. Like, I'm thinking about, if I ever am imprisoned, right? I will practice the Dharma. And in fact, I'm going to take that as a alternative monastic endeavor, like
Yep.
think of
Yep.
it in that way. Everything we have our minds, right? They can't take our minds.
I think about that exact same scenario where I'm like, some things that you believe and some actions you take could land you in prison, it could put you in a foreign land in a foreign prison, and you have no idea what the future holds. I mean, look at the Tibetans as a whole,
Yeah,
right? Like totally innocent, good-natured people that ended up in prison because they were perceived as resistance, whether they resisted or not, right? And
yeah,
and how, like there are a number of instances where you didn't have to necessarily do something wrong for your entire life situation to change. And so I've
yeah,
reflected on that very point that you're making. Like, what would that be like for me to end up in a prison or a concentration camp or something to that effect, right? Like, I don't want to dwell in those kinds of in that sort those sort of dark thoughts, but
right.
my resolution is the same. Like, oh, that would be a good fertile ground for practicing Dharma.
Yeah. And being that kind of like model, right? Because people in those situations are their minds are very at risk of being completely destroyed by their environment, right? And so if you can show like, hey, there's a way to be stable or a little bit more stable, then that is a really good thing.
In his pivotal book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl
Mm.
talks
Mm-hmm.
about that a decent amount, right? Where, his experience in the Holocaust, where he was in a concentration camp for a while, was one where he said, he was like, yeah, there are tremendous numbers of people who are completely broken by the experience and are truly suffering. But even there, in the pits of hell, so to speak, there is opportunity for joy.
Yeah.
And the joy comes from the service to others, for being there for those who are suffering is the only joy that can be found in those places.
Yeah. Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right.
All right.
Well, man, we've gone deep a number of times today already. We haven't even got to our core topic tonight.
We're just talking openly, Jack.
We sure are. That's true. That's true. We're gonna align with our name there. Should we do a Lojong?
Yes, I thought
Okay,
you'd never
we'll
ask.
do a quick Lojong. Quick Lojong.
Promises, promises. What if it's long though? What if we really want
Oh,
to talk about it?
I guess we'll have to talk openly.
We will.
Okay. Regard all phenomena as dreams. I think we
We
didn't we last time we kind of read this
we
this
played this.
dialogue.
We did. We did. I suggest that we not do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I agree.
and that we can agree that indeed it is a wise move to regard all phenomena as dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have a number of, I told you I like to make AI music. I am, so shoot me. But, but, uh, but I have a number of songs based upon this very topic. I think
Awesome.
it's a good one. It's a nice reminder, right? Like the illusory nature of phenomena. It was in fact, right? It was Buddha's final words. Like he spent his whole life trying to tell people, that all composite phenomena are impermanent, right?
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
like it's really hard for us to grasp. But it's weird. I gotta say, one of the things that I find really fascinating is how the truth of emptiness, how like on the one hand you're like that sounds like just like a philosophical sort of point of view, right? And one that people could maybe agree upon intellectually, be like, yeah, okay, we got kind of get what you're saying. What I find really fascinating is how does that reduce suffering? you know,
Mm.
and to see how, like, the wisdom in these teachings is profound, right? When all of it comes together, it's bodhicitta and a correct view of emptiness, right? Which
Yeah.
this is regarding all phenomena as dreams is a part of that, right? And how those two things go together to both aid in self-liberation and sort of global, if you will, universal liberation. I
Yeah.
find that part fascinating because it's not just intellectual.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think of just kind of these like coming togethers and falling aparts, that dreams are, right? Like these kind of just the randomness and then how, suddenly it's shifted into a totally different scene and it's and the coming together, falling apart. And that's what happens every day in our awake life. Um, yeah, yeah, beautiful, important.
Yeah. Well, may we all enjoy some lucid dreaming within the realm of phenomena.
Yeah. Trungpa, so I'm reading this Lojong book that he's got. Uh, oh, I remember this. I love this beautiful carving.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could look at that for a long time. Hmm. But yeah, Trungpa, he talks about, so, he has a little chapter on that slogan, and then he says, well, we have to make sure that we don't kind of like just stay in the dreamy state. So we have to bring it back to reality. And I think the next one is, like kind of real, the nature of unborn awareness. I can't remember
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
here,
but
here.
yeah, the kind
The
of
next one
like,
is be grateful to everyone. But yeah,
okay, interesting. Yeah, I think it's there's a yeah
yeah, the
different
order change. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But anyways, enough about Lojong. I mean, we could keep talking about Lojong forever.
For sure we could. I think that point though is well taken. I love the dreamy aspect of it. I could stay in the dreamy world of sort of fluffy phenomena, if you will. But that point about coming back to reality, so to speak, we still have that is still our place to work. You know, that is
Yeah,
our place to practice. And so, it's okay to have the understanding that it's all, illusory, and we don't have to get lost in it with craving, and we don't have to have aversion and all of that stuff. But at the same time, like this is our world. Let's live in
yeah,
it. Yeah.
right, right. Yeah.
Part of living in this world is that there are these illusory, dreamlike phenomena called teenagers and children.
That's true. Oh my goodness.
And
And
they have illusory phenomena such as depression and anxiety and loneliness and
yeah,
other such sordid phenomena.
yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah. And you're kind of in the midst of that right now, aren't you?
I am. So I'm lucky enough to have 4 kids in my life.
Yeah.
My two biological children are 14, almost 15, and 16, almost 17. Um,
Wow.
and so certainly I've seen them have to weather all kinds of psychological, mental, emotional sort of storms, if you will, all the ups and downs there. And super proud of them for they do hard work. They really do actually do the work uh,
Mm.
and see the results. So I think that's just phenomenal. My partner has 2 kids who are very similar age, and we live together, and so I get to see a similar kind of thing, right? Different. It manifests in different ways in different kids, right?
Yeah.
But seeing the same kind of thing, there's the struggle, right? And especially that age, the preteen, teenage years, there's a lot of changes happening there that are confusing.
Yeah.
Especially when you combine natural human development, the ordinary progress of moving from child into adulthood, which just that alone, very difficult to navigate in under all circumstances and throughout all time. And yet, within the context of our modern society, the way that it's showing up is so different than the way that it might have shown up in the past. Never,
Yeah.
never before were people coming of age where thousands or millions of people had access and commentary on their daily lives and similar, them being able to see everybody else in the same way. It's a
Mhm.
radical different world that they're growing up in, and so I think the challenges are unique.
It's really intense. Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, how to think about like Dharma and sharing Dharma with teenagers in general, but also in this time. Um, and yeah, that kind of it's such an interesting period of development because it's like at the same time that kids are really wanting to separate from their parents and like have more autonomy, independence, be with their friends more. They still really need and want some level of guidance.
Yeah.
And so it's this like kind of like internal push pull with like, who am I kind of relying on? Who do I trust for information? Um, what kind of boundaries do I still have? What are the ones that are shifting? So yeah, it's like really confusing. Um,
They're also at the same time, and if that wasn't confusing enough on its own, there is also an undermining of the system of trust that they grew up on, right? That the very foundation of their life, which are all these wise, sort of intelligent, know-all, superhuman adults, that
yeah,
actually, oh no, it's terrible. They're just people like me.
yeah,
They're not even as smart as me.
yeah.
Kind of thing, right? That is
Uh-huh.
happening at the same time. And like, what can you trust? Who can you trust? What can you depend on? It's like a free fall.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I've worked with a couple teenagers in the last year, and I get a sense that like kids are maturing a lot faster than like when I was a kid,
Yeah.
um, which is interesting. And at the same time, there's things that are completely the same. But I wonder about that, like the kind of acceleration that we're experiencing. Like, is that happening on that level too?
Yeah.
Um,
You know,
and
oh, God.
yeah, no, it's just like that, like you were saying, that kind of access to information and other people's lives and yeah, just the kind of like performative aspect of social media where it's like they're kind of like performing like adulthood or like something that's more mature, which maybe that's been teenagers, but it does seem like a little bit more accelerated with the kids that I'm thinking about.
You know
And
that
they're the kids who are going to therapy, so maybe it's more acute, right? But
well, A, we live in a time when they have access to therapy and the broader culture is more accepting and supportive of kids going to therapy. So
mhm.
that's good,
That's
right?
good. Yeah.
Like, there's so many of the maladjusted ways that our parents and grandparents responded to mental health issues are now being treated in a different way. Maybe there were some good things back to what they did, and maybe there's some good things now. But, what you said is, I think, right on point. There is a weird sort of maturation happening like they every all the young like teenagers, preteens, and young adults that I know are incredibly savvy, like know a lot actually, right?
Yeah.
Like they are mature in a certain sense, and again and have a way an understanding of how to act in things that are more mature at a earlier period of development than in times past, I think. And at the same time, I feel like they are more innocent and naive than ever. You
Isn't
know,
that weird? Yeah.
like there's a weird, like basically there's like they can see how everything is unfolding. So there's a lot more information and awareness of the way that the world can be. But at the same time, because of the nature of people, there's not as much real life experience happening there. Like that's the wrong word. But there's more sort of information and awareness of the world, but less experience of being in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. What an interesting time to be growing up. And with all the kind of uncertainty in the world and with our climate, maybe that's part of it too, is that they're having to grow up really fast because these are intense times and yeah, we're gonna need all the help we can get. So
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they're coming on board.
Right. How quaint to think that it was only going to be climate change, right? That somehow like that would be the only major shift, only change. But no, we have the rise of authoritarian governments, the collapse of financial economic systems, right? And their entire the whole the old classic way of learning and education and higher education and the path towards having a job and a family and all of
Mhm.
that seems completely obliterated.
Yeah, isn't
Like
that wild?
all the ways that we organized ourselves as society and thought of ourselves as these groups and how we were going to be, and that predictability of our future is gone. There's zero. Like on the one hand, that's incredibly freeing because anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, the conditions, what's showing up makes it feel daunting. Like you're fucking looking
Mm,
at a tsunami wave and you're like, how am I going to surf that?
yeah. Which then leads me to wonder and like guess that Dharma is going to be a pretty essential thing for this generation, for all,
Yeah.
for any of us who are trying to survive in this world. Um, uh, and you describe all of that kind of like upheaval. And it's like we are living in a time where if we were really paying attention, we could become enlightened to the fact of impermanence, right? That could become very, very clear. Impermanence, suffering, those things, are very obvious right now, right? They're distinct. Like in some ways, it's like, okay, it's in your face now. Can you like, awaken to that?
Yeah.
Because of course that things have always been shifting and unstable, unpredictable, but we just have these kind of illusions of stability through these institutions that we've agreed to, kind of hold up and believe in, right? But so now it's like, okay, we can see those things don't actually have any solid basis in reality. They're just, designated by name, right? And so it's kind of a cool time where you could really be able to see like these Dharma principles that, hey, we're labeling all of this by mind. And we're creating the world, right? That we're creating the world right now and the future. So that kind of like discussion around karma, which I think in talking with kids, like really pointing out the fact that it's not karma is not like fatalism, right? It's not like
Mhm.
determinism, right? Which I think is just like so like we're tired of that, and so like to say like, hey, we are creating it right now.
Not
Like
you alone, not
not you alone. Like we are doing this. And so what world do we want to create together? Like how freaking awesome is that? Like
that's right.
nothing is predetermined. So anything that, these authoritarians say that the world's going to be like, that doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
We get to decide, right?
Exactly.
So it's exciting,
Right? It's hopeful as well,
It's
right? Like
hopeful.
we don't want to give anyone false hope, but the very nature of the power is divide and conquer, right? If you can keep people isolated and separated, believing in their own little individual, unique, solid sense of I, right? And supporting and bolstering that false notion, it gives you the ability to control, to have power over. Dharma
Mhm.
is revolutionary in that sense. It's counter authoritarianism, if you will, right? Because it's speaking to exactly what you said, which is the truth of the matter is it's an interconnected world, and we all have a role in it. You're doing it, I'm doing it, we're all doing it. And if we want it to be different than the way it is, we have to get together and do it together. And it's not going to be, oh, old us, we are the wise ones and we know we have the resources, and you, puny little children, you are going to be quiet and sit in the corner. No, because this time it requires all of us all at once, right? We're going
Yeah.
to need the resources, the wisdom, the flexibility, the energy of young people combined with whatever the hell old people have, right? And we got to put it all together. If there's a way out, that's it.
It is. Well, and I think, kind of what you're touching on is something I'm thinking about Lama's terms that he uses for like sangha and community and the Dharma, like how, it's a friendship model and it's also a teaching model. And so I think that like is very attractive in the sense that, for kids, like, we want to see them as equals, right? As peers, right?
Yes.
And we also want to teach them what we've learned, right? And that we can do both. And they're both essential, that we don't want to, not share what we've learned because we're worried that kids are going to be annoyed with us. Like, we've got to share what we've learned, but at the same time seeing like, well, you're my peer and I'm also learning from you through this teaching model. So yeah.
You just reminded me of something that was really beautiful. One of Lama's recent talks, he was asked, it was a talk about the nature of trying to maintain a Buddhist teachings and community in the West. I forget exactly the name of the talk, but one of the students, in fact, it was Ellen Wolf, who asked him, hey, now, you've been a student, and now that you're the teacher, what's that look like, from the other side? And it was a kind of an emotional moment. And he said, well, when I was a student, I had one principal teacher at any given time. Now I have 50.
Mm,
Right? And that really that was such a beautiful expression, right? That it isn't this predefined notion, there's the teacher, I'm the student, they are teaching, I am learning. The exchange is always breathing in, breathing out. It's always going back and forth, right? Giving,
yeah.
receiving, student and teacher, right? The activity doesn't have this binary sort of dualistic it's a process, right? It's a dynamic process that's happening, right? And so I think that that is kind of what you're getting at, right? Is that
Mm,
there's the old model is out, and I think that that model is depressing
yeah.
and it's weakening, right, for society and for the individuals within society. And Dharma is like even though it's like ancient traditional wisdom, right? It has so much freshness and like aliveness to it, right? And when you live it, when you breathe it, you can see that it actually has this healing component. All that shit that's bothering us, that big old wave of tsunami of nonsense that we, like you said, is no longer at the door but is in the house, right? That bunch of nonsense, like yes, it's here, but Dharma is the way to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How exciting.
How exciting, right?
Yeah.
Like now's the time,
Now's
right?
the time.
We can't be sleeping right now,
No, there's no better time. These
right?
are the conditions. They could be the conditions of our enlightenment, right? But these are the conditions of, whatever, wherever we are on the path, we're there. And so, yeah, like really we can do this. And I think that kind of energy, let's bring that to all generations, right?
Oh, yeah,
Not just the
exactly.
kids, but I'm excited for all of us who are in community and sangha together. Like cross generational. Let's do it.
Right. That's right. I love, one thing I was reflecting on before the show was I thought I was just sort of chuckling because I was like, there's no difference when it comes to supporting young people with mental health. There's zero difference from a Buddhist standpoint. Sure, there's the skill of, how you meet that person, right?
Mm,
But the actual fundamental is the same, right?
yeah. Yeah,
The practice
100%.
is the same. You're going to always do that. You're always going to be practicing in the same way with all beings. It doesn't even have to be teenage humans, right? It can be animals, it can be spirit beings, it can be all kinds of beings, right? But the practice, the way that we do it remains the same. That's what's so freaking
Yeah.
awesome about it.
It is so awesome. Yeah. And we've got the handbooks,
We
you
got
know,
we got the guides, we got the
they're
teachers.
available.
It's all here right now. What like prime conditions.
Prime conditions. Yeah. Omaha.
The tree is ripe and the fruit is ready for harvesting.
There we go. Yeah. All right, friends. Well, I don't know if you feel kind of jazzed to be in this world right now practicing Dharma. I'm excited to be here with you. Let's do it.
Same, same. I'm happy to be doing it with you, Jack, and with everyone who's listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And